And it's Monday. Wait, no, it's not Sunday.
It's Sunday today. It's
Great start,
Friday first, then Saturday, Sunday.
Perfect. Cool.
So
right.
KC on the blue side,
please?
G2 on the red, who they elected to be on the red side again. It's the Annie and the Pantheon bans once again. Varus and Nymaera taken away by G2. There's the Taliyah ban, there's the Azir ban. In a second, you have to assume. There we go. So, where are we going G2? Because KC, loved your draft, played it well, good job, 10 out of 10. G2, like 2 out of 10 at most probably. Wukong is the first pick here for KC. G2, you know, you have a few answers to this. Obviously, the Poppy now taken off the board makes it a little bit trickier for you, but you can just look for your own engage. You can look for a Zhao, you can look for a Vi, you can look for a Maokai as well if you want to just try and create control over more of the space of the map.
Always chance something a little bit wild out there too. G2 have been cooking. Now, I will agree with Odo a bit here, actually. Perhaps you have a quota, the amount of crazy you do. Gonna hover over this Viktor, lock it in, actually. I suppose there is a takeaway from Vladi. I wonder if G2 think, okay, all right, well, Orianna's gone. Perhaps if we take the Viktor, we're starting to cut into Vladi's comfort pool, which has been something which, you know, we've questioned a little bit from him, that actually his mage plays look good. Outside of that, has he looked a little bit more susceptible, potentially? He still has stuff like the Taliyah. Well, no, he doesn't. The Taliyah's banned, so he doesn't have that one.
Yeah, doesn't have the Taliyah, doesn't have the Azir. Could go down to something like a Yone, but you are missing a bit of AP topside, like Yone with a Rumble or Yone with an AP jungle would make a lot of sense. Zhao is the second pick for G2, so it's kind of that jungle answer we were talking about.
New splasher.
With the new splasher. Yeah, I don't like the fact his Crescent Guard is blue, because it always makes me think he's being Kayle altered.
Ah, yeah. Wait, if it's blue, doesn't that make it less Kayle because it's golden?
Well, some Kayle skins are blue, but usually Crescent Guard is gold.
Okay,
Rakan
that's different.
and Akali, okay. I mean, I remember the Vladi learned from Zeka, yeah. Times when he was spamming this Akali post first stand here alongside the Rakan for Targamas, which is one of his highest win rate champions across the course of his career. So I like what I'm seeing from KC, although the Akali is always a bit of a curveball.
It is. You now have triple in-your-face threats against the Viktor. You must draft good disengage. The Alistar can be that. You use that ultimate. Akali's really hard to play into Alistar, actually, because you go anywhere near him, blam, slam on the ground, you cancel out your combos. It can make it much harder for you to get clean engages through that. That's why you have dive buddies. You don't go alone. It's dangerous to go alone. Take this Rakan, and also this Wukong, and maybe even something like an Ornn later. We'll see what happens with Canna in that top side. The aim of the game now for KC is to have as much follow-up as possible, and in these second round of bans, we'll need to see them ban away some other defensive picks. I do actually wonder if G2 aim for a Xayah on 4, actually. That could potentially be quite powerful for them as a disengaged pick, and also a takeaway from that Rakan.
Yeah, Xayah and Ezreal, Sivir to a degree are the 380 carries that you're looking at for that sort of self-peel possibility, especially with Corki off the board now. We have the Ambassador getting taken away from Canna. No surprises there. I think best player in game 1, pretty unanimously. People I've talked to. Yorick then banned as a response. They're trying to pinch Broken Blade's pool a little bit, which does make sense. Broken Blade did have a good summer, but really struggled at MSI, struggled in spring. Bringing out like the Warwicks and the Kleds hasn't really had the impact that we know him for from like last Worlds or just before that, right? So the question is he just going to revert to something a little bit more standard? Are we just going to see 2 tanks in the top lane? Sion still available by the team wants it. Ezreal banned away by G2 to get rid of one of Caliste's best picks. Still remember him sniping Hun Summer with that mystic shot.
That was in Paris as well. That was such a classic moment there. Xayah is now going to be removed by KC. We were wondering whether that was going to be 4th pick. No longer so. What do you pick towards Hans Sama? Do you have to go towards something like that Sivir and just say you have to play long-range disengage? It's pretty good at carrying the Alistar through the laning phase too. I wouldn't mind seeing that from G2, but then again, would be quite nice to have AD carry counter pick to a certain level too. Yeah, helps you with the 2v2. I'm
trying to think what your current options are. Like the Sivir is there. You could go. It's going to be the Sivir in the end. I was thinking MF, but way too static. You go for a Jinx and a Felios, but they suffer the same fate, right? And you've already got your support, so you can't pair it up with something like a Thresh. Sivir will be the one to spell shield. Hopefully enough for Hans Summer and for G2 fans to survive. Caliste hovering his Draven. This would be a really aggressive bot lane. We haven't, as you say, but it was something that he was I mean, every AD carry in Europe is a Draven player, but Caliste was really a Draven player for a while. Instead, it looks like it's going to be the Zeri. I have been seeing a few experimental Hexplate builds with the Zeri, which I quite like. Gives you great chase potential. And when you've already got dive, Zeri's job to protect herself and then follow up when she can, it really fits into that sort of meta. Aurora, the final pick here.
Okay, all right. Now that Aurora very likely blind pick towards that top side, and kind of happy to do so. You lock in that Cassandra, and it's not a great time against the Aurora, but you're in this position where you need to play a disengaged tank for your team, buy your backline a bit of space. Cassandra charging up that W can be a bulwark between your team and the enemy team's divers. Very different kind of comp from KC this time, and from G2 as well. G2, they are the full team fight team now. They have scaling, they have range, and they've got 3 frontliners to try and keep this massive dive composition from KC away from them. It's going to be hard. Wukong, Aurora, Akali, the Rakan, all of them have great ways to get into your backline. And as you were saying, potential of even something like a buffed Hexplate on the Zeri could be joining them as well. KC on the aggressive, diving side of the coin this time.
And the KC fans in louder voice here in the arena as well, unsurprisingly, with the 1-0 lead.
Yeah, we wanted some chance. Where are you, G2 Army?
Like KC, both teams were chanting a lot during the game, and then the G2 section got quite quiet about halfway through the game. But I'm sure they will rise in voice once again as we see the coaches bump fists there. And we get ready for game 2 of this match of the week. A best of 5, not only for a spot in Madrid, but also for a spot in Worlds over in China later on. I think a lot of people are surprised by the fact KC won game 1. I saw quite a few people expecting a G2 3-0, but KC proved that they are here not just to play, but to dominate.
Yeah, there's something cool about bringing down a team to earth and making them really respect you. KC really did that in game 1. Now it's G2's turn to bring back some of that respect to them. Win streak broken. Start again from 0.
Yeah, 8 nowhere near as impressive as some of the numbers we were talking about earlier, but for G2, it's the next step up on the road. Both the support's going to meet up here in the top lane. Looking for a bit of control. Obviously, Aurora having the ranged matchup into the Cassandra, wants control of that second bush. You see the wards coming in. Canna will have a lot of control in that lane. Cap stepping towards Caliste here. And take a few of those burst fire shots and then just walk his way down towards bot lane. Minions yet to spawn, so Cap should be fine to recall and then work his way back towards mid in time. Ooh, SK Telecom T1 said Viktor. I wonder if it was the real one. I doubt it.
You know, one of my favorite things I see on Twitch is people gifting subs to Faker to your channel. It's like, oh, Faker's sub to my channel, guys.
I'm a big deal, guys. That's what happens. But yes, so early game. Bot lanes, not really much going to be happening there. The Sivir just wants to farm it up and clear the way. Wow, the Alistar needs to hit level 2.
At All-Star 2014, wow, that was the crowd in Paris as well.
Oh, yeah,
All-Star 2014. Yeah. Remember the Pantheon there? Oh, what a great crowd.
Was that the Renekton, the cosplay?
That was earlier.
Was that earlier?
That was one of the open circuit events. Yes. Funnily enough, someone recreated that
yeah, I saw
NLC.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Very good. If you haven't watched the NLC between shows, by the way, they had a K-pop group. And it was actually quite fun to watch. It was enjoyable. So you should catch up on that if you can. Although I'm sure, actually, it was Lost Returners playing in the final, so I'm sure a lot of people were watching it anyway.
Let's be honest, if you know about it, you probably watched it.
True. So, early doors, what are we looking at? We're looking at Canna getting the push in the top lane. Caps with his range advantage should be able to harass down Vladi. You can see Vladi already half HP using that Twilight Shroud just to try and get towards these minions. But if Caps plays this lane well, he can just keep that wave a little bit out of Akali's reach.
Yeah, he's going to look for the bounce back and then a reset most likely, because he started with the Q. He's not going to have wave control the early on, whereas Akali, your Q actually is pretty good at clearing through waves for a melee champion, actually. Goes towards that W the second to get a bit more energy to keep spamming that. But Caps now at the level 2, happy to hold the wave where he wants.
Labrov going in, headbutt pulverize, a little bit of damage on Caliste. Labrov's going to get knocked up in response. Both the support's running Unsealed Spellbook, so don't see any of those aftershock reduced damage after you go in, and can make the Alistar a little bit more squishy than he's used to being.
Gotta say, I really appreciate the emote spam from Caliste. He's got a bit of a bromance with Elk over on BLG. Of course, they played earlier today. Won't spoil the result. Hell of a series, though. Go watch that one if you got some spare time after this one, of course. This one's going to be absolutely riveting.
Oh, Broken Blade, not on the right side of this lane at all. 12 CS down. There's a big wave going into him, but Canna was so dominant in game 1 on that Rumble. Broken Blade is gonna have a bit of a struggle bus of a matchup.
And KC, even when we had our questions about them from the group stage, one thing we said is Canna is damn good at League of Legends still. Canna is still Canna. There were some issues potentially with the rest of the team and how they were synergizing. Their team fights were looking a little bit off for a while, a little disconnected. But Canna was looking fantastic. He now has a nasty winning matchup in this top side. Broken Blade elected into it. It's a bit of a begrudging one where you say, look, okay, I've got to be a tank later on. I'll just try and survive how I can. He's going to soak up this wave out tower best he can, and then his job is to peel for the team later. Very different to the Kled from the last game where he was meant to be getting leads and skirmishing well. Obviously, that didn't work out well. The danger here now is you've given Canna a winning matchup. Yeah. That's not typically how I see teams winning against KC.
Yeah, when Canna gets ahead, KC tend to win the game. Targamas here looking for that gleaming quote, can't quite land it, but KC do already have about a 400 gold lead, and all of that sits on the shoulders of their Korean top laner. See, for the moment, Hansama and Labrov just trying to absorb the pressure from Caliste and Targamas and doing a good enough job. It's going to be even Stevens in terms of CS. Cap's getting his recall off. That is a tiny amount of CS ahead, but can TP back in immediately. Probably has lost chapter. No, double amplifying tome is where he decides to go.
Yeah, well, hang on. We'll see what build he's going to go towards, actually, because I mean, we've seen a lot of the Rod of Ages Viktor coming through. Seen some Blackfire. I have to say, I tend to follow in the Doomby school of thought, where he's basically said, look, Viktor, if you go towards a lost chapter build, you die a lot of the time. So you don't actually get to use the higher damage build to do what he does. I mean, the Rod of Ages allows you to survive through to a second cooldown. And against such a high diving team, I would like to see that Rod of Ages potentially. But of course, Caps, at the end of the day, whatever you build, if you play towards that play style and you justify it, I don't care. You just have to justify it. And it looks like he is going towards a Lost Chapter build.
Yeah, he so often does justify it as well. Even in game one, like, he wasn't able to find the impact that he wanted to have, but he was unkilled until the Nexus fell, basically, right? So you give Caps a bit of the benefit of the doubt, and KC beginning to earn that in some ways as well with their performance this year. Obviously had a turbulent start to coming into the league, but since the start of this year, winning winter, being relatively good in spring, and now challenging in summer, I think a lot of people are putting KC as consistently one of the top dogs in their heads.
I know, I think so. Hang on a second, spell shield onto the knockup, no threat there really onto Hansama. Sometimes you just like to do a little bit of a hands check. Yeah. To say, okay, you got
hands check?
Yeah. I was trying to leave it as subtle.
Sorry, no subtlety, man. I'm used to Vedi just not getting any of my puns, so I have to be explicit.
I'm just okay. Now you've given me a challenge. That's the problem. You shouldn't have done that in such an important series. Problems there. We're gonna get derailed at some point. Labrov just making sure that Caps is safe on the crash in here. Wants to make sure that he's okay to do so. Vladi on the whole, laning completely fine versus Caps on the Viktor. Doing quite well at getting some of those micro trades to get the best of things.
Yike on a control ward here, but well, shadowing makes it easy enough for Caps to get that wave crashing in. They're going to pass down towards the bottom side, towards that Drake. Canna still winning out pretty effectively in this top lane match. It might just be a Scuttle Crab take. Caps escorted to the Honey Fruit. He'll gobble those down.
And just seeing that random damage again in that top side matchup, people really don't respect the passive damage of the Aurora in this kind of matchup.
So strong.
Why did this random bit of damage come through from North attack? You get that 3 hits and just a load of random bits of percent HP comes through. Amped up by the Leandries and potentially a Riftmaker later on as well. It's so disgusting. You can see how much damage has been done there just by wailing on the melee. Same in mid lane for the Viktor, of course, there too. But this is one of the reasons why the Aurora is favored into tanks. Might actually see a contest around this dragon now. KC are quite intent on approaching.
You can see Vladi's quite a way away, currently only near the red buff. Hansama forced back a little bit, puts some control ward down in the Tribush. Targamas goes in, exhaust onto SkewMond. Smite fight Yike, won the last one of these. SkewMond looking for the smite, and it's Yike again! He's just SkewMond's father, it seems. Labrov hit with the Ultra Shock Laser, and it's a perfect execution from Vladi that kills off the cow.
Oh, welcome back, Vladi. Gets himself the first kill of the game on the Akali. We were a little bit worried, does he just have to revert back towards mages? Like he says in this first fight, no. Of course, we'll see how that fight how the fights continue across the game, but KC, smite fight, first blood, G2, there are some worries here.
There really are. We'll see it again. Yike just wins it. Decimating Smash alongside the smite is enough, and then Labrov gets clipped, and Vladi chases him down.
Forcing a flash out of SkewMond too. You'd normally think that, you know, Viktor and the Shins out, they'd be winning through the early fights early. Typically when early fights tend to happen out here, actually, in the early game. But no, not to be the case. KC get themselves a bit of a freebie there.
And now it's not just Canna that's ahead. Your mid lane is ahead, your bot lane is ahead. You are happy as anything here if you're Karmine Corp. For G2, like, they do scale into this game. Viktor, Sivir scale really well. You're going to have a frontline Cassante. But now we get to see how good KC can be with one of those early game leads, because they haven't had them that often in summer.
Rob started up. Do KC feel like they can contest this again? First one goes down to G2.
I think SkewMond smiting the first one kind of implies, hey, we don't really want to contest the next two. They'll pull this last one out, but Yike's going to be able to take them both. And the little grub is actually, his mites, stopping the recall from SkewMond. Does hit level 7 now, doesn't have his smite, whereas Yike has held on to his. G2, this is cinema. Like, they're just watching. They have gone to the movies, they bought a ticket, they bought the popcorn, and they're just spectating as KC take the 2 grubs.
I like to call it Safari League of Legends. Yeah. Well, we've got an animal going in right there. The cows on the rampage.
Goes back out with the Cyclone there. Labrov going in, pops that Unbreakable Will. Arcane Storm coming out as well, but not really much happening there for G2. Labrov went for the engage with the Hex Splash. SkewMond's going to dash away. Targamas dancing in with that grand entrance. Cap's still looking for more. Remember, no ultimates available now as Broken Blade is just killing off Canna. Canna has no ult, has to flash BB on the chase, going all out. Can't quite land the Intofos. And because of that, Canna survives.
Close run stuff. Potential of a continued fight up here. I think he'll finally defuse. And you know what? I was just checking the damage numbers from that Zeri, because something seemed a bit weird about the W. Folks, this is a W max Zeri.
Oh, wow.
I'm not going to lie, not seen this one before. I'm not sure it's been popping up in solo queue. We'll look at that one in the background. But Caliste looking for those poke angles. Yeah, you sit down in that bottom left there, actually. Just look down at... No, it switched over to the Karmine. All right, it switched away from it. You can see it was there. Hang on, Vladi goes in.
Yeah, Vladi looking for this, but he has to dash away and dive to Summonary. There from Keps.
Okay, good reason to go away from that, Zeri. Vladi goes down. Had the first blood, now is his first team's death as well. Fight over the Raptors as SkewMond flashes up the Anivia. And more interesting so, because Yike always hovers Anivia in that champion select. SkewMond didn't actually get an assist on that, by the way. It was all Caps. Kind of forced Vladi into the defensive play. But yeah, you can see right there. W max, 4 points in it. Increasing that poke. Reminder that when you put it through the wall, it auto crits, so it gives you the extra damage through it. Can get the Vladi for this play. What happened here? So he jumps forwards, tries to get good trades down. Of course, has the Conqueror for the extended trades, but sees the Shinzai come out of Fog of War, realizes, yeah, bit toast.
Maybe it was an auto attack at the end, not the Summonary, but still, yeah.
I'm gonna TP.
I mean, it's one of those moments where you're like, oh, I can outplay this. I didn't realize I'm dead. I entered. Okay, such is life. It's okay.
Everything's chill until Shinzai just randomly turns up in your lane. Sometimes it happens that way. Oh well. First item now completed for Vladi. Has that rocket belt. I keep calling it Proto Belt even after all these years. On the other side, Caps is actually going towards Leandri's first from the looks of it. Not going towards something like the Rod of Ages, but still HP, burn damage, not bad.
Yeah, it gives them a little bit of tankiness, if not as much as the Rod. I looked back. Few AD carries still going for the Q build, majority of them are, but Caliste always going for this W build in his solo Q games, at least from what I can see. So
I mean, your random burst damage is pretty high, actually. Yep. If you don't expect the W damage coming out, it can really catch you by surprise. Remember the older AP Zeri Ws?
Oh god, I used to do it in ARAM all the time.
Yeah. There are a couple of teams down in the ERLs which really love doing that. I think there's M&S, just the mid laner, which really popularized it. God, that was nasty. Glad we're done away with the AP Zeri.
Yes, yeah. All AD carries in the mid lane, just get rid of them. That's my general. If they can play AP, it shouldn't exist.
You don't miss the 4 straight years of Blade Black Cleave Evolution?
You don't? No, I do not miss those times. I do not. But Vladi on this Akali, about 300 gold behind right now. The big lead for KC is in that top lane once again. Canna has a 23 CS advantage, and with it 700 gold in his back pocket. We saw Broken Blade almost able to win one trade, but unable to do so in the end as KC set up towards this Drake. Get a little bit of vision into the G2 jungle, but G2 actually have a lot of vision behind them. You can see how many wards. Yeah, thank you so much, observers, for pointing that out. Flank wards abound, but only Caps with a TP.
I don't think the flanking Viktor is necessarily what you're angling for with this team comp. It just gives you advanced notice. That's the big thing which you're looking for.
Yeah, flanking Viktor is the deadest rather than the deadliest.
That's right. Oh, such a way with words.
Thank you.
Man, you should do that for a living sometime. Consider it sometime. Hands doing okay at just pushing in those waves and making sure that waves just disappear in the way that only really Sivir can do. Of course, later on into the game, G2 are going to have a massively powerful backline in this Viktor and Sivir, just giving crazy AoE and pass-through damage. KC, the goal for them will be making it through the minefield of CC and frontline to those carries, and they'll have to choose their angles very carefully, because you fail to do that once, you often use a lot of your flashes as your ultimates, and makes it harder the next time. Vladi is on the flank, they do want to contest.
That's a pincer movement here by KC. Camp's going to try and keep Vladi at bay. Yike goes into the pit, but the smite comes down before he's in range. One way not to lose the smite fight is to have it dead before the enemy jungler arrives. It's a Hex Soul for us, a Drake apiece so far in this game. And I think Caliste may have even picked up a tower plate while all of that was going on, realizing that the fight wasn't really going to begin. SkewMond there on a control wall will start up this red. Immediate response from Targamas, you can see running from that bot lane, and SkewMond realizes he has to vacate the premises.
Skedaddle, get out of that. SkewMond, I think he just realized he was on a control ward as he jumped over and thought, perhaps not. Probably again, even off the wall, does decent amount of damage there. Labrov going back in to get a bit of damage back.
Yeah, Targamas will just dance around it. As a support in that situation, you take a trade of some of your life for some of the AD carry's life, even if it's slightly more of your life than the ADCs.
Particularly as the game goes on, HP on a support compared to HP of an AD carry, of course, is a very different thing. Even at early levels, it's a big thing in CVT. If you can trade onto the AD carry instead of the support, it tends to make a bit of a difference. Of course, both these supports have a bit of sustain themselves. Helps you a little bit through that. We are now at the point where first items are through for everyone. The Canna Rakan for Broken Blade would allow him to have that extra effective HP for each wave that crashes in. But as you were saying before, stuff like the Aurora with the Leandries, you think it's a tank killing build, and it is. It is also a squishy killing build because Aurora has so much base damage, which Leandries amps up with the, well, 6%, the amount of percent damage up from it, which affects your passive, your base damage, everything. It means that you just end up just getting a nuke of damage when it goes into that backline later on as well. And kind of being ahead of the game from that position too is something that G2 will need to be really, really cognizant of. If this Aurora gets a good angle onto the backline, that is a quarter to a half your carry's HP is down when they get into the backline.
I don't think Broken Blade's ever watched The Incredibles, because I was told no caves. He has decided on a couple of them.
Can you do the Edna mode walk? Should we?
No, we should not. Firstly, only TikTok can see the stream.
True. I think that my knees might shatter if I did that.
I had knee surgery when I was 24. I think I'd be doomed, man. For the moment, the next objective, this Rift Herald, you can see G2 setting up around it once again. Caps answering into Vladi. Broken Blade down towards the bottom side, does have his TP, as does Canna, so KC can react if a 5v5 begins. And this setup, once again, it's Targamas and Yike together that we see so often trying to get this vision in. I'm
sorry, but you are now obligated to say when there's a stopwatch, I got time, just to continue just that one other Incredibles reference we can throw in there. Herald has spawned, as you were saying, that G2. Again, we're getting towards the point where they can really start to front to back. We saw this from KC very effectively on their side the last game, where they baited G2 into them time after time. G2 on the defensive side of that coin now.
They are. SkewMond looking around the corner here. Targamas and Yike going out together. The quickness coming out. Summer flashes it. SkewMond still healthy enough, but Labrov caught out by Caliste. He's going to have to pop that unbreakable will and walk his way away, and KC come out much healthier out of the exchange.
I do actually wonder whether Hans flashed a little too defensively there, completely out of DPS range, leaving SkewMond and Labrov a little bit out to dry. Well, this was the one that we should start to turn and burn after that point. SkewMond going in again.
Yeah, SkewMond still has the Crescent Guard here, so it can be a little bit more aggressive. Caps coming in first. Yike on the Rift Herald, but that's going to reset. Goes back to its pit, and G2 will force KC away from the objective. Labrov now back out on the map using those Hex Gates. Something you have to be so aware of in modern League of Legends. I mean, I say modern, Hex Gates have been around for a while. It's just how quickly people can get back out onto the map. Labrov already here. KC giving up pressure around this as Yike has begun his recall. Vladi stepping in with the Twilight Shroud, but he's on his ones. Solo up towards this top side.
So I do wonder if we're still going to get a contest in. You can see there's a wall right onto Hans, and this wall is so dangerous, especially for Hans with no flash.
Canna, TP to mid, he's looking for Hans Summer, they don't get in range. The slow not connecting, and that's the Between Worlds from Canna used, trying to get that fight. They have cut off G2 from the mid lane, but they only have a Canna minion here to walk towards the tower. The next wave will bolster it in a second. And so Caliste will get a little bit of time with this turret.
But you could really see how geography worked against G2 there a little bit. Hans did use the Ghost very well to get out there, but you're stuck against that wall. There's no mobility, no dash AD carry. You're really under threat. KC tried to use that, couldn't quite manage to do so. Herald is claimed by G2. They have the one grub. It's not like 3 grubs, but they'll like to use that to open up a bit of the map at some point, of course. Dragon in 30 seconds might see another contest around that. Of course, we saw the first 2 actually contest. You don't always see that. A lot of teams will give up 1. KC have not wanted to do that so far.
What I want to really watch in this next 20 seconds is how much Yike and Targamas team up to get vision into these areas, because it's something they've done so well in Game 1 and also here at the start of Game 2. At the moment, they're not really stepping past the halfway mark of the Rift, and that's because G2 have wrested control of this area out first, so Targamas and Yike can't go in for that deeper vision.
So there's no Aurora ultimate if KC do want to contest this, but then again, there's no flash, no ghost on Hans Sammer. This is the KC, hang on a second, SkewMond getting a good chunk out of target that. Taking HP off of an engaged support is really important. Again, makes it much easier to protect your carries when the Rakan might just die on the engage.
Vladi pushing out the top side. Cap's going to answer him. Both have their teleports. Could have a 5v5 around this. Would only be second Drake for G2 or for KC. They managed to steal it away. Labrov has that unbreakable will. There were the teleports in. As we see G2 still on the Drake. Hexgate from Canna. Caps turns onto him immediately, but Hans Sammer already half HP. The Redemption will heal him up. There's the quickness onto the backline. Vladi flashing forward. Hans Sammer down. KC find the first. Broken Blade's going to go all out and pull across the wall. Canna, but they just don't have the damage on him right now. Labrov escapes with the sliver. Canna goes down. Vladi dashes away with the perfect execution. Labrov gets taken out by an Ultra Shock laser, I believe, out of Caliste. And in the end, a 2-for-1 exchange in favor of KC.
KC find the flashless carry of Hans Sammer, and that Sivir is put to dirt pretty quickly. KC, we said they were not going to be leaving these dragons uncontested. They've really set a goal on making sure G2 can't just slide into easy dragons to allow them to scale up later. Dragon to the side of KC, 2 for them now. G2 did not do the due diligence and checking those Hexgates. Yep. The Hexgate was the big game changer here. We're saying, well, you know, the Aurora doesn't quite have the ultimate at the start of this play. Well, he gets a great angle just without that, fires the shotgun into both carries. We were just saying how much damage that Aurora can do, even with a quote-unquote anti-tank build. Rakan follows up, and sadly, Hans Sammer does not have anything to outplay that with.
Yeah, just doesn't have enough pure tools for himself. Labrov here dies. I think maybe Caliste dashed and flashed for it. Yeah, flash burst fire in the end. SkewMond was able to kill off Canna, and now the Artican begun by G2. 1,000 gold in the hole. Hex flash away from Labrov.
Oh, good grab kill.
KC only have 3 players here, and that Artican is already down to 3,000 HP. Yikes used the decoy. The Artican secured. G2 will look to try and escape. SkewMond with the crescent guard. The dive in from Vladi immediately knocked up. A good path maker will knock 2 back. Vladi and Yike dived into their demise. And G2 are looking for more. Cat's chasing Caliste, no flash on him, but he's able to run away with that extra movement speed. Dash across the wall. G2 get a little bit of control back in the game.
Look, this series has largely been about Canna so far, but BB holds the door shut. Fantastic double lead. Labrov now in danger, though.
Yeah, caught out. He's going to try and knock Targamas across the wall here, but that wall is just too thick. Caliste gets another. Canna coming in from the side. The Rift charges in for a mid lane tower. It's the first of the game for either team. G2 secure it. It will get another charge in. A little bit of damage onto that tier 2.
So G2, big series of plays for them. Get the Artican, get the turret. I do not want...
Wait,
have you got bingo?
10k gold lead, fail, die, flame horizon, okay.
You have a full bingo there. All right, well, someone's now going to tell us what happens with that bingo across the series. That is now obligation.
Yeah. As long as it doesn't have casters use crutch words, because we've already done that the whole time.
Yeah, no, you've just let them know about
We'll
that
just
now.
get them out of the way. King's Legacy, Dynasties,
yeah.
6 feet under,
the likes of, what are the other crutch words?
As well, obviously.
Well as, in the meantime.
Oh, time after time.
Time after time, yeah.
Almost forgot that.
All right, so we can't use any of them now. Fantastic. Nope. Vocab is running short. Let's get the dictionaries out.
SkewMond looking for Targamas again, who will dance away. Has Vladi in the area, so can just escape. Very even game between these two teams. 2 Drakes to 1. Artican obviously giving G2 a bunch of petals. It's about 1.5k, the 17 petal leave they have, alongside obviously the buff that you get from the Artican when you get kills, that little field around your enemies that you've taken down. Broken Blade also managing in this 1v1. It's gone a huge amount of magic resist.
Yeah.
There's only about 20 CS down.
And now he's making his way towards the Iceborne Gauntlet as well. Blackfire comes in for Caps. He's got the double burn coming through for his build. No Rod of Ages. Has a bit of the HP, as we said, from that Leandries to make up the difference.
And the big things you have to watch for in this game. Do Caliste and Hans Sammer survive through a fight? And do their front lines survive long enough for them to put the damage down? Obviously, Vladi and Yike are going to want to get on that back line. Canna's going to want to do the same. But Caliste, if he is untouched, will absolutely rip through G2. The same can be said about Hans Sammer, Flicker Blades, and Yuntals. 3 items is really where these AD carries come online, but 2 is enough for them. Alongside that, Caps farming up on this Viktor. Caliste Oh, the exhaust down as well. The Arcane Storm's going to take him out. Targamas trying to get in with the quickness as well, but he just can't get there quickly enough. And that's what I was talking about. Caliste's dead. You have no damage. Caps with a double. A brace for him. And brace for impact, KC. Canna dies under his tower. And G2 might even be thinking about the win.
I mean, you blink and you miss it. The blue wall goes red. Great pickoff from Labrov. Splats Caliste as he tries to wall ride. And the bot tower falling as well gives G2 a huge power play. 3,000 gold now in the advantage for them. G2 massively punish.
That's a huge swing for them. 500 gold ahead. Underneath that tier 2 tower in mid. Now going to be 3.7k. Their advantage 3.9 now, in fact. What have we got coming up next? We've got 40 seconds on the Hex. Hex Drake will be third for KC. A minute on the Baron. G2 need to retreat, spend their gold, and then get out on the map.
Yeah, so actually staying quite a long time has now left them in a bit of a problem because they haven't been able to retreat.
Labrov has to burn the flash, but he's going to burn down anyway. Caliste gets the kill, as you say. They lost their timer. They lost their tempo by staying around for that bot tier 2. And then you saw Labrov trying to get back out there to get vision down. We'll have another look at this.
I mean, just Caliste trying to escape a little bit further and splattered into the wall. Has nothing left after that point. No summers. The double burn from the Viktor. More than enough to get onto the carry at that point. Easy tower kill. You are completely right. Tempo is the right word from what they did after this point, though. So often misused. G2 use up their kind of movement on the map to say, let's take these turrets. And now they're behind in the setup for the Dragon. KC might be able to take a fight here.
Labrov does have TP, though, off the Unsealed Spellbook, so he can get into the fight, and he still has his ultimate. No flash for him as the Drake is down to 6,000, 5,000 now. Vladi has a massive flank. There's no vision. Labrov finally puts a ward in there. Between worlds goes Canna, immediately locked up, knocked up, and taken out. The smite goes down, and it's this time that SkewMond finds his mark. Yike getting chased out as well. It'll be a 3-for-0 with Drake alongside it as G2 take total control of the game.
Yeah, Canna looks to go between worlds and only finds the underworld. Jumps into the play and doesn't have enough follow-up. G2 stand their ground, get the objective, get a huge fight. And they can look towards the Baron now. There's no smite. Yike is dead. G2 rolling from success into success. They won't have to care about Labrov dying before this point now. All the big plays are going their way.
From 500 to 5,000 in about 3 minutes. G2 will start up the Baron. TP available for Canna in 12. It's not the quickest Baron as of yet. Cap's going to come and help out his team secure this as quickly as possible, but I wouldn't be surprised if KC do a poke, do a prod, have a look, decide against it. G2 will get the Baron. Look at that damage from Caps, man. 24k. This guy, like, G2 have missed 1 Worlds of the last 9. And it's whenever Worlds qualification is on the line, Caps is just something else. He just becomes a different beast.
And he does get back there as well. You could have had just a most timely curse there. Very, very close on it. Here we're going to look at the fight again. As great Bradfield forces the aggressive play forwards, and actually that Bradfield just completely zones off a lot of the team of KC. Caliste has to stand back behind the wall. Vladi doesn't exactly get much value himself, and Canna, well, he does a hop, skip, and a jump into the grave. Did not get value out of that fight.
The troublemaker.
We have to call him the troublemaker from now on. Is that a thing? Please, BB.
Have you ever played the Like a Dragon games? Every boss fight has
like the
blah, blah,
Yakuza.
blah. Yeah. So like blah, blah, blah. And you have like a title under them.
All I know is Takeshi, man. All I know is Takeshi from the Yakuza series. Was casting some WoW with a guy called Preach recently, and he has some sort of obsession with the character. So, for the moment, the only obsession we need is with this best of 5. G2 well in command. KC trying to find something on the map. You can see Canna down towards that bottom side, just trying to get an objective bounty. There's a tower there, it's relatively low. Can take it pretty quickly. Does have the TP as well. But Broken Blade escorting in the wave in the mid lane. This will be an inhibitor. Ultra Laser dodged by G2. It goes between the uprights. Canna will get that objective bounty for KC. They try and eke some gold back in their favor. Pathmaker out from Broken Blade to dodge away from the grand entrance, and that's the first inhibitor going to go down in the top lane. G2 then turn their attentions towards mid. Canna continues pushing, double inhib from the push for G2.
Feels a bit bad having to take an outer turret for double inhibitor trade. That's what they have to get, though. There's no way you can wave clear against this, and you probably can't even stay there against the very long range of the Sivir and the Viktor. Yes, you can poke back with the W max on the Zeri, but Not being able to clear those waves in the same kind of way. When you're behind as an Akali in a game like this, it feels really, really bad. You're looking for flanks and assassinations, or that's it. We've kind of seen that from G2 in game 1, where they tried that with LeBlanc and Leclerc. I think it's a little less egregious in KC this time, a bit more standard in the champions they have picked. But both of these teams took an aggressive angle with one of their drafts, and neither of them have really come out the winning angle of that. The defensive, group-up, team-fight style has worked out much better for both teams.
It's also who are you killing now for Vladi, right? Like, you've got a couple of kills early in the game. You go for Camps, he's got a stopwatch and a Leandri, so he's not the squishiest person in the world. You go for Hans Summer, he has a spell shield. Yeah, you're getting Gromp. That's about all you can muster at this moment. G2 pushing in the last remaining wave. There's the TB flank, but they'll see it. G2 turn with the on the hunt. Broken Blade with the part maker. Bring the Cyclone onto a couple of his teammates. Targamas going in as well. The bomb's already killed off Yike. Hans Summer will die on the back line, but G2 don't care about their AD carry anymore. They've already found 4, and Canna likely to hit the floor as well. Pulled out with the all-out. G2 still chasing. Caps has to use the stopwatch to drop the tower aggro. Canna dies for the ace. And we're going to 1-1.
Attention to anyone who's currently residing in blue side base. There is a storm warning. Caps drops the ult, and KC drop with it. Towers in their sights.
This is what we wanted from this series. This is what we wanted from the LEC Summer Playoffs. G2 and KC neck and neck after 2. Hopefully we go all 5.
Deathless is the man in the mid lane. Caps so often the standard bearer, waving the flag high at the enemy nexus.
That they are. For KC, back to the drawing board a little bit with that draft. But for you at home, if you want to win a trip to LEC Madrid, for you and a guest with all expenses paid, your journey starts here. Tell us your story with the LEC and why you deserve to win the trip. We'll be joining you again right after this break.